Yesterday, I recorded a short form video, 1 minute video. I've been experimenting more with that form lately just because I think it's a way to get information out there that forces me to be succinct, which is not my strong suit most of the time. And I know it's also something that has a greater chance of going semi-viral, and so I've had some 1 minute videos, reach a wider audience, reach audiences that wouldn't normally be watching my videos. But on the other hand, I've had a lot of 1 minute videos that have just crashed and burned. So there's really no rhyme or reason with it. It's just something I've been doing more lately to, as something different, and because of the challenge that it provides, and because it might help me help me say things in less amount of time and waste fewer time for waste less time for you. So, but I want to expand a little on what I was talking about in the video that I recorded yesterday, where I was making the observation that for the last few years, the elites of our nation and of the Western world generally have been behaving as though those who are on the conservative side of the ledger are simply that half of the nation essentially is just beyond the pale, and shouldn't be countenanced, shouldn't be tolerated, shouldn't be in any way indulged, shouldn't be allowed to put their opinions forth. If they put their opinions forth, then those opinions are or when they make observations that may even be factual, but it's not what the elites want out there. That they jump in and say, misinformation, you're off of social media, and I can say it because it's happened to me. It's happened to me several times. It's happened to me here on YouTube, and it happened to me on Instagram several times. But that's because I'm a bad boy. I'm on the naughty list. Even though I'm such a relatively minor figure out there, my name still carries enough weight, with those who are looking for people to blacklist, that I managed to make their lists. And I'm not sorry about that. Like I've talked before about that. I'm not gonna go into that again. But I have no regrets in that regard. But let me just say that to elaborate what I was saying in that shorter video yesterday, that when you see this happening, when you see the elites of the country behaving in this way, just basically putting all their chips down for this woke bullshit, in whatever form it manifests. And it manifests in many forms. But basically saying, if you're not down with this, then we don't want you. Just sort of like saying, if you're not going to get what they were saying last year, if you're not going to get this thing in your arm, then we don't want you around. We don't consider you our neighbor. We don't see you as a fellow citizen with valid concerns. We just are going to behave as though you are a totally offensive reprobate, and not approach you with any posture of reconciliation, not not approach you with any kind of we may be you may believe this and we may believe that, but we all have to work together. So let's put our differences aside. Blah blah blah. you're not hearing you haven't been hearing much of any of that rhetoric of late, in the last 5 or 6 years especially. And yes, something has changed. And people have speculated about why that is. I've even heard theological explanations given that the demons are aware that they're running out of time, and so they've stepped things up a notch or two, and we've reached into what the Catholic exorcist Father Ripperger, who's a thoughtful speaker. I recommend you watching and listening to him, whether or not you agree with Catholicism or think that exorcism is valid. He brings the intellectual weight and heft, and he was talking about how there are different phases of a civilization that's disintegrating, and that one of the phases along the way is the draconian phase. We maybe had the anything goes phase a little while ago, but that's long gone. Now it's the draconian phase. Now it's do what we tell you to do, say what we tell you to say, or we'll ruin you, kind of thing. The observation that I made yesterday, again, and then I'm going to repeat today, is that it would seem that instability is their goal, because if it doesn't take an incredibly brilliant person to say, if you want stability in a society, then don't rile up, don't make one half, like roughly a half of the society who are on a particular side of the cultural and political divide, don't villainize them so thoroughly and so relentlessly, or else, that's not going to end in a way that is indicative of a stable society. There's a group can only take so much getting kicked around before they're going to start kicking back, and that's happening, of course. But whenever you kick back, then you're the bad guy, of course. But I don't want to go into the. I'm not here to bitch and whine and moan and complain about the way that it is. Of course, we know how things are going. Anyway, that's not going to happen. If you want stability, what you want is to have somebody on this side and somebody on that side, if you like, controlling, gatekeeping each side, and making sure that each side gets some slice of the pie, right? And so that neither side feels alienated from the culture that they're living in, right? Even if we are increasingly tribalistic, even if we are increasingly dwelling with those with whom we share common beliefs, with which we have common first principles, which makes sense. A cohesive culture has to have shared first principles, and we don't have that right now. We have two warring sides with very different first principles. So just a couple of things that militate against this observation. One of them is we are seeing sort of some controlled opposition being put forth, like Elon Musk. A character like him, coming on the scene and saying, look, conservatives are okay, take the red pill, pronouns are dumb, I'm taking over Twitter now, and I'm going to make it so that I'm going to expose what the all the skullduggery that's been going on with the alphabet agencies and all the points of view that have been relegated to the dustbin because of essentially censorship. I don't tend to trust Elon Musk. I don't just because I don't know him, and I know that he's an incredibly rich and powerful man who wants to who's big on installing a neurochip into our brains. That doesn't sound like something that I particularly want. At the same time, I welcome him as like a counterbalance because we haven't had too many of those. We haven't had too many establishment figures, people who are oligarchs, if you will, people who are unelected but who obviously control much of what is going on, much of what gets done. We don't have too many of them who are rightward leaning, conspicuously rightward leaning, or at least in his case, just sort of libertarian leaning. Even if it's just a pose, even if it's not really that real, or if it's real, if it's not really that deep, I think it's something it's something that I part of me welcomes, just because I think generally speaking, living in a more stable culture is more conducive to harmony, to personal harmony, than living in a culture that's being deliberately flogged into instability, which is what it seems like is the case most of the time. So those are just again a few of my thoughts expanded that I recorded in shorter form yesterday, and there you have it, for whatever it's worth. Thanks for watching. Talk to y'all soon.